Hello everyone, Neofizz here, and welcome back to my short series on the worlds I played in Minecraft before I started recording. And this is world number 6 we're in now. And in this world, this was a lot happened in this world, so this is probably going to take 3 episodes to get done. So this will be the first episode of 3 in world number 6. So when I started out, I spawned in a jungle, my least favorite place to be spawning, because you can see you're just sort of surrounded, you can't see very far at all, it's kind of a drag. But as soon as I started to venture off, I turned and I saw that there was a jungle temple here. And this world was just after the 1.3 version of Minecraft came out, and this was one of the new features, was a jungle temple available. There was also desert temples that came into being as well, and there were a few other features that this version had to offer as well. So that's why I started this new world. And I immediately went in, I climbed my way up to the entrance, which is up there, went inside, pillaged, plundered, set off the traps, got what was in the chests. There were devices ready to ping me and pong me and make damage, and it was kind of a little harrowing at first, considering that I really didn't have any equipment to start with, and I come right into here and faced it. But the chests and whatnot that were in here were very favorable. They had some good stuff in them that made it easy to get a decent start going, and that's what I did. I mined away a bunch of blocks here to get some resources, and then I moved on. And I think, well, let's go back to the main level. I think when I moved on, I took off generally in this direction here. So let's do that. Jump off of here and get off and running. How do I get up now? Over here. There. And so I just took off in this general direction here across the water. And I headed for the snow biome that we see here. What do they call that? Taiga or something like that? And this isn't what I was really looking for, but anything was better than jungle, so I've kind of made my way across this way. And you can see something over there that I built. We'll get to that in a minute, because as I took off this way, I love the way this Optifine plugin lets me see underwater better. You can see, instead of it being all dark and murky, you can actually see something down here, which I prefer, because where I live, water's clear and you can see in it. But I went on, I could see I had a desert biome here, and I was excited about that, because I was hoping I'd find a village in the desert, which I did find. But when I first hit the desert biome, right here I found a depression in the desert, and it was square shaped, and you guessed it, it was a spawner. So I immediately went for the spawner, because I needed to get experience and resources, and I was very happy to see that this was, let's turn the lights off, this was a zombie spawner. And that's good, because zombies would drop some iron and some iron swords for me, and that was good. It would give me some of the resources I needed to get started, and that was good as well. And normally these guys end up in the mob evader a little easier than that first guy. And you can see, yeah, they go up as usual, as we've seen before. This is I had to make a modification from the original design here so that they would pop off the end a little more easily than usual. And you can see, if you watch, that there isn't any backlog occurring up here. The first guy goes over the edge right away, and the second guy does too, once he stopped fighting the water. And same with the third guy. No one had to push him off. So that was good. And I don't think this brought these guys right down to a one-hit kill, and I'm told that's because they have armor that protects them. So it's actually a two-hit kill for these guys. And there were 3 that dropped, but I guess the 3rd one took damage and died when he hit. So that's good. And I didn't bother making the pressure plate or the trigger to push the items forward with this because it's safe to get in nice and close with these guys. So that's how I use that. Had a bed here, it was useful. So I camped out here for a bit while I built up my resources a bit. Oh, that guy took 3. I guess when you're hitting them with their own flesh, they last longer. So that's that. And up over here is where I had the lighting system installed. And I think this is the first time I put... no, it wasn't the first time I put one of these lighting systems in, but this was my own design for lighting. There were some other lighting designs I could have used, but I didn't. This was one I made up myself. So the redstone comes here, and at this point it goes down one of those redstone torch towers till it ends up behind the wall where that switch is for turning it on and off. So that was good. And once I got a little bit further down, I discovered there was a town out there, so I made use of that, and we'll get to that in a minute. But we'll go down here because I was watching Etho videos, and this was just after it turned into the 1.3, and he made this giant ice cube tray in the snow biome, and that was a really nifty idea, I thought. Is this yeah, it is Silk Touch. So what you could do is if you had a Silk Touch pick or a shovel, actually I preferred a Silk Touch shovel, but that was when you could actually mine this with a Silk Touch shovel. I think this is, yeah, it's a Silk Touch shovel, but see, it doesn't mine it very quick, where the pick takes it out right away. So you could come in here and take these out really quick, you know, especially with the pick had efficiency, and you just take these all down really nice and quick. And the great thing about this is that instead of having to carry a ton of buckets of water, you can just have a stack of ice, which acted like having stackable water, and you could do what you needed with water without having to have a ton of buckets taking up your inventory. So this worked out pretty good. So I'll pick these all up. And you can see here that there's a ton of pistons here that are all extended, and behind those extended pistons there's a water trough. And that water trough will stay water. It's not going to turn to ice because there's a block above it here. So all these blocks with the redstone are what's keeping the water as water instead of turning to ice. So when I'm ready, I can hit the switch, all the pistons drop, and the water spreads out until it gets all the way across again. Then I can hit the switch to close it back up again, and it almost immediately starts turning into water. I'll just get a bite to eat while we wait, and you can see we already got a couple water blocks going. But because there are no center blocks in here, it takes a long time for the water to freeze all the way across. But I didn't really care because I had lots of time on my hands that I was doing other things anyway, so it didn't matter. And here's where I also made an Etho inspired snowball machine, and I even set this to be underneath some obsidian so my shovel wouldn't bust the ground on me, so I could go crazy making the ice balls there, and that was good. And I could collect them up here and make them into snowballs at my leisure as I needed them. And I did need a lot of snow. I used this to make an incredible amount of snow for a grinder that I have over at my base. How come I can't get running here? There we are. And as we move along here, you can see I had a nice big sheep farm that makes a lot of noise, and that's why I put it a good distance away from my base so I didn't have to listen to those guys all the time. They were, I don't know, I didn't really use the sheep wool much, but I thought I might eventually. And over here I have a nice big sugarcane farm. And this wasn't the first one, this was the second one that I built here. And you know, so geez, has a guy got enough sugarcane? Well, you know, at this time you could trade paper with the villagers to get the emerald stones. And so that's what I was doing with this, is I was making tons of paper to trade with the villagers. And it was by watching an etho video that I discovered this water pattern you could use that would maximize the amount of area for growing while you minimize the amount of area you're using for water. So basically every spot here can have growth except the spots where you see water. And that worked out good too. That was a very good thing. I could have tons and tons of the sugar cane growing here. Oh, little kitty cat wandered out. So we get in here now, and this is where we enter the village. And this is where I made a bunch of these funny villager houses again that have 20 doors, because that makes them multiply really rapidly. I tried using Doc M's contraption up there, and it seemed to work at first, but I think that the Mojang team caught on to it and they nerfed it somewhat, so that it wouldn't spawn the villagers quite as rapidly. So I had to go back to using my buildings instead. And that way I could still have lots of villagers doing their thing for me. And you can see over here I even had one villager trapped in blocks, ready to trade with me all the time. And this one wants to trade me books. I originally had this one trading paper, but they nerfed it so I couldn't trade paper anymore. You gotta trade other stuff and then it'll free up the paper again. And where the heck is that zombie that I hear groaning at me? Oh, he's right over here. He wants to get to the villager, and none of the iron golems are nearby to take care of him. So I'll take care of him instead. There we go. So you can see along here I had some tree farms. We had the spruce trees. We had the, what do they call these again? The whitewood trees. And I also, up this way, had a couple other tree farms. I had the jungle trees. And I also, this was the first time you could farm the cocoa beans as well. So I was farming cocoa beans here. And they grow pretty quick. They're easy to harvest. They grow really quick. You could bone meal them if you want to, and they would grow really fast. Over there you can see I had a second sugarcane farm. That was actually the first one I built. With a different design completely. This was just a straight trough with the sugar canes on each side, and this worked out pretty good because I could harvest it just by sliding along like this, eh? So that would harvest quite a bit at once, and then I could just quickly, run up both sides and collect them all. That made for quick, easy harvesting as well. So I'd end up with quite a bit pretty quickly as well doing that. That worked out pretty good. And I did get myself a little army of cats all around here to try and protect me from having the fuzzy guys come creeping in on me too quickly and easily, right? Now one thing we didn't see on the way by here is I've had this melon farm, which was kind of nifty to have. And I think I was using these shovels to pick them up because being a silk touch shovel, it would pick up the melons whole instead of in pieces, and that just made it easier to store them, which was handy. But then over here, this was an etho inspired design where when I walk in on this pressure plate, it auto harvests the pumpkins for me. And these pumpkins here, this was before you could make pumpkin pies, so these pumpkins were pretty much exclusively being used to make lighting pots. So you can see over here what I had done is I would dig a hole too deep, put in the pumpkin, put the leaf block on top of it, and that way this whole area would light up rather nicely. Oh, there's another guy harassing my villagers. Stop harassing my villagers. That's right, I said stop. But they're everywhere. I left this spot over here not so bright, just so I could get mobs spawning that I could, fight. Jeez. These darn skeletons are just way better than they used to be, though. You go away. Don't come up and fuzzy me. They want to come up and do the warm fuzzy thing to me. Oh, he just doesn't want to give up. Well, he gave up now. Alright. So we can run back down and I'll show you more of what was happening down in the village here. I only got a couple minutes left on this first episode, so I got to be carefully parsing this out. Oh, and one thing I didn't mention. Oh, jeez. And what? We got another zombie trying to harass my villagers some more? Where is this? He's over here. I hate that sound. Oh, look at them all. Jeez. There's like an army of them and not an iron golem to be found. Jeez. Okay, get rid of you guys. Jeez. Holy moly. They sure make for fast experience, though. One thing is, the village sort of ended right here. This was the last building of the village. And I went up and I built... No. I think this building here was the last building. But I built the temple in behind there. Just to, make it look like it was a little bigger. And because there wasn't any temple growing in the rest of the village here anyway, right? So I decided, the place needs a temple. This was my first home here. We'll go in there and check it out in a bit. Here was one of the gardens that got expanded, and I automated this somewhat. Once you were able, in this version, you could now have buckets dispense instead of it just spitting out the buckets. So, you could hit the button, the buckets inside of the dispensers would dispense, harvest the wheat for me, then I could go in and just pick it all up and replant it. Which was cool. It would save me at least the harvesting time. I would have to do all the replanting, but it was pretty quick to just run around and harvest it all really quickly that way, right? I guess I could have automated even more by having the water push it all to one little spot for me, but I never bothered to do anything like that. And here I had all the goods I needed to continue. Let's just dump off all this excess I've been building up here. Don't need all this stuff hanging around. Okay. So there was that. And back here, I actually used to go in through this house. That's if these people will let me through. No, they're not gonna. So we'll go this way. Here's where I had my psychedelic sheep farm. This is kind of fun. Wandering through here. I'd come in here with the clippers and clip like crazy and end up with a bunch of colors in the end. And then I'd go back in through this door where they're all stuck running around and put them all into the dispensers, fill them up, thinking I'd eventually do some pixel art here, but I never got to that. What actually happened was I started playing on a server, the Strongkever server, and stopped playing this world completely. And then Minecraft went through a couple more version updates, making a lot of stuff in here pretty much obsolete. So yeah, I had another one of these auto harvest gardens here and here. And it's hard to see it from here. But over on the other side here, I had a piggy farm. So that's okay. I've had that farm pretty much filled to the brim with pigs at times when I wanted lots of them. And down this side, we had our cow farm, and I've had this filled to the brim as well when I wanted to get lots of leather for trading and whatnot. And over here we had our chicken farm, and this chicken farm has been filled to the brim. Like, I've had over 1,000 chickens sitting in here at once, and that sure makes a heck of a noise. But when it's like that and you run through, you just have to run from one end to the other, and suddenly your inventory is just filled to the brim with eggs. So down here I had chests for filling up with eggs. And this was my way out of here. So I can show you that typically these were just filled right up with eggs. So I'd kill all the chickens, and then I'd empty a ton of these eggs back out into there to start the chicken farm back up again, is what I would do. And it's putting us pretty close to the end of this episode. I'll take you over to see one more thing before I end the episode. So out at the other end, things were getting way too populated. As soon as I built those houses with the 10 or 20 doors each, they all migrated into them and left the town basically deserted here. So what I did was I ran a rail all the way down the back side of the farm and then back up to here, and it would go in here and dump them off so I could migrate some people back into the regular village here, and that's what I did. But for the most part, it wasn't a very successful mission. They kept slowly moving back to the highly populated part of town. So I had all kinds of other stuff with more doors and whatnot here to try and attract them and keep them here, but they didn't really want to stay here too much, right? And the last thing to show you here before I finish the episode is this desert temple that I found. And this is, the typical pyramid desert temple. And it was all covered with sand on this side, and I excavated it all out and terraformed. And it was also all covered with sand on this side, and I excavated that all out and terraformed. And that led me to jump down a cave here that I found, and that cave led me to some wonderful things. So we'll take a look at that in a minute. No, we won't. What we're going to do is we're going to wait till the next episode to take a look at that. So I'm going to end the first episode here now, and I hope you enjoyed checking that out, and we'll see you on the next episode.